Back on Steel and Vance, and boy, this holiday season has been an utter nightmare. What a debacle for so many, whether it's storms or computer systems going down or staffing shortages. It has been unbelievable watching the chaos unfold, thankfully from home.
I would have been murderous.
You would have.
I was someone who was sleeping on an airport floor and missing my trip to Hawaii or whatever it was, because you can't get any answers. You can't get them from the airline. You can't get them, from the front desk. Nobody picks up the phone.
I feel so bad for those people that are on the front line of that, with the angry passenger, frustrated, having slept God knows how long in, and missed their Christmas, and screaming at the person behind the desk, and the person behind the desk was like, I don't know.
Right, and how do I get compensated? Do I get my money back? Where's my luggage? There's still thousands of suitcases all over the place. Sunwing, a big offender this holiday season. And we want to bring in a guy who's going to break this down for us. Duncan D used to be the Chief Operating Officer for Air Canada, and he just wrote a brilliant piece in the Globe and Mail about the travel chaos over the holiday season. Duncan D is joining us now. Duncan, let's start with Sunwing. Oh my goodness, that was like a gigantic debacle.
Yeah, it was a very gigantic debacle and very, very sad for the travelers who were impacted. They just really dropped the ball, and hopefully they can get the things back on track. Although, the travelers in Saskatchewan seem to have taken the brunt of it. They've now canceled all of their flights to Regina and Saskatoon until February. So this is not something that's going away anytime soon.
So Linda referenced your Globe and Mail piece, which I highly recommend for those who are frustrated by all of this, and looking at what's happened here with Sunwing versus what happened with Southwest Airlines in the US, and how those two things have been managed very differently. And you referenced that in your piece as well. Lay out the groundwork here, because there's so much complexity and nuance to some of the travel disruptions, but certainly being told, hey, you know what, we're just not going to fly until February sometimes. Oops, sorry. The government should be stepping in here, no?
Yeah, look, I think obviously the government needs to do a much better job of anticipating what happened, not just this winter, but last summer. I mean, it's been an entire year of travel disruptions now, so Canadians are unfortunately getting used to this. In terms of the contrast, the contrast couldn't have been more stark. You had Southwest Airlines, one of the largest U.S. Domestic airlines, have a complete meltdown on the same day as every airline in the continent had a meltdown. Their meltdown lasted about a week. And as we talked about earlier, Sunwing's meltdown is lasting until February. So, it's a really difficult situation. And Canada, fortunately, once again this year, sticks out as a really difficult place for air travelers.
Yeah, and Duncan, let's compare the reaction politically. You saw, our Canadian Transport Minister going, oh, this is unacceptable. Well, what else? What are you going to do about it? The American Transportation Minister was much harder, saying, Sunway, Southwest, you're going to compensate passengers. Canada, we just kind of got this, oh, don't do that again.
Yeah, and that's really the point of it all. Our Minister of Transport in Canada sees himself seemingly as an observer, as somebody on the outside looking in. And the Secretary of Transport in the U.S., Pete Buttigieg, came out very strongly. He was on shows throughout the U.S. Networks, basically saying he stood with the travelers. He wanted to ensure that Southwest did the right thing. And, ultimately, to Southwest's credit, they did. They established a web portal for travelers to upload receipts so that they could get compensated for reasonable costs. And Sunwing left travelers sleeping on airport floors and hotel lobbies throughout, the Caribbean and Mexico. So, this is something which really needs a second look from the minister. Is he an observer, or is he a player in this air transportation game?
Exactly.
So you've been on the inside of the operations as the COO at Air Canada, formerly in that position. What do you see from that inside POV that is happening within the industry in Canada? And should we get used to this here? Is this going to change anytime soon for us?
Look, one thing that Canadians are very understandable about is weather. They understand that the weather impacts travel, and they know it very, very well. The part that is so difficult to accept for an airline operator is the recovery. Everybody can definitely cancel and delay flights during weather disruptions because it's the safe thing to do. And travelers need to remember that the reason why flights are delayed and canceled because of weather is for safety reasons. But the recovery is really where the rubber hits the road. And unfortunately, we've done such a botched job of this on so many ways in Canada. You take a look at the the mountains of bags that you showed at the start of this segment.
Yeah.
And the thing that viewers need to remember is that these are Christmas presents. The bags that are checked in at this time of year are filled with Christmas presents and very valuable mementos for many, many travelers. And what happened and why did it get to that point? Yes, the weather was a huge issue, but the baggage belt broke down on the Friday before Christmas at Pearson Airport. It's sort of like, how could that even be happening? Right. On the Friday before Christmas. And so we need to really have a very serious look at the infrastructure that we've got. Are we preparing the infrastructure well enough? Last summer, we did not. Last summer, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver were the worst airports on the planet for delays. Could you imagine, And then this last Christmas, we now see Canadian travelers, sleeping on the floors of airports throughout the Caribbean and Mexico and hotel lobbies because they were let down once again. We've got to seriously look at what's going on here.
Duncan, we got to get our act together
before she goes on holiday, please.
I'm flying next month, please. Duncan D, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Duncan, former COO of Air Canada. Oh, please fix
don't recommend this holiday.
You know what? I mean, people are frustrated. There's no one to call. You have a problem. Am I going to get a refund? Where's my bag? It was utter chaos, and you can't just blame the weather for that.
No, not this time. No,
Hello.
and drawing the parallel
Federal
between
government.
last summer and this Christmas holiday season, it's time. I want to hear from the federal government on this. As a voter, as a Canadian, as a taxpayer.
He tweeted, Jody, he said it's unacceptable.
That's
unacceptable. Exactly. Still head on Seal Events. Check this out. A ballsy art thief gets caught, goes in there, just steals a really expensive statue. But, the Vancouver police recognized him and they were waiting for him at home.
Love this.